Hey there, welcome back. This is session 4? 5? What the hell am I on now? Session 5. Kind of had some ideas here, but I actually kind of mostly wanted to figure a few things out, or things that I'd kind of been working on. One, I kind of had mentioned that the whole, wasn't going to worry too much about gods and clerics and such, but I changed my mind on that. So, I actually created or kind of started coming up with the concept of a god kind of that fits the, a cleric like Berham. So, I also started using some, oops, sorry. I also started using some AI to create the beginnings of character art, and I also came up with, so he's in service to the god Bratarna, the life bringer. So I don't know, I randomized the name kind of thing, just running, rolling through the Mythic Game Master emulator name tables, which kind of just give letters or syllables, and then so I just kind of strung a bunch together and went, sure, that'll work. Bratarna, the life bringer. That's the essentially the god of I suppose the god of life. The cleric for clerics that kind of focus on. In D&D 5th edition, you would be talking about the life domain or something, but in this case, clerics are a little more focused and based on their alignments, and less on kind of what their god brings to the spell list. The spell list is going to remain the same regardless, and it doesn't matter at the moment because first level clerics do not have spells. Sorry. So I was starting to flip around, coming up with some ideas, kind of randomizing some ideas. I use ChatGPT to throw some ideas at me as well. And I think our next adventure here, which will be hopefully a little more detailed, maybe even a little more dungeon crawly than the last one, we're going to focus on Kuo-toa. Now, as far as I can tell, Kuo-toa do not have a D&D basic, like D&D red box, etc. kind of stats. So, I had ChatGPT work with me to create some stats for the Kuo-toa. Now, I've created a Google Doc here specifically for monster stats, and we've got the Kuo-toa as to what they're going to be like when we get in here. Treasure was the hard one because it just seemed a little tough there, but kind of went with because it didn't really come up with a standard treasure for them, so I assigned them pretty much basically what standard humans have for, normal humans have for treasure. And we're going to kind of try to kick things off here. So I'm thinking we're probably possibly a few days later here. However, I'm going to come back to our adventure lists. Our threads list here, we've got our NPCs list, or characters list here, kind of on the right, which is filled out probably about as much as it can be right now. There's nothing really else. Nothing else really there of importance. And on the left, we got our threads list. So Egil wants to continue exploring Port Sirik, and the party needs to recruit additional party members. That's probably partly what we'll be dealing with in this session. But I was wondering whether I should add a thread there about returning. I'm thinking that actually is something to do. A thread to return Martha's belongings to her family. I think that makes sense as a thread. So that means, if I kind of go back here, I believe over the next few days, Berham and Egil probably meet up a few times and discuss kind of what their plans are. There's still things to be done around Port Sirik more than likely, but they really do need to also start working towards returning to Martha's town, or Martha's village, or Martha's city, whichever it is. But she said she's not from Port Sirik. She's kind of from the area. So that could be possibly, 50, 100 kilometers away, I don't know. Maybe less. Maybe she's kind of just from the outskirts. But I think we kind of need to figure out a little bit about Martha and kind of where she's from. So, at this point, I do believe that because they saved Anna, I think they pretty much have a place to stay whenever they need lodging. Anna will put them up. So I'm going to add that. I don't even think I'm going to roll on that, but basically Anna owes them her life, so she... There we go. So she's happy to be alive, happy for them to have saved her butt there. So what I need to really kind of get a sense is how far away is Martha's home. So is she really like just outside? Like she, kind of like maybe farmland or something? Is she within like 10 kilometers? Is her family home within 10 kilometers of Port Sirik? So I'm just gonna grab my trusty dice roller here. I'm gonna call that 50-50, I guess. We are at chaos factor of 5. So, is it within 10 kilometers? Yeah, it is. Is it to the east? I'll call this 50-50. No. So, if we look at the map that I created here, we have, I believe, 4 roads that lead out of Port Sirik. This was randomly generated, so I'm just going to kind of go with this. We got 1 heading north, we got 2 that kind of head easterly, and we got 1 heading south. So that means she's going to be north or south. Flip a coin. We'll just call it a D4 roll. Even, it's north. Odd, it's south. Even, it's north. Odd, it's south. So, okay. South of Port Sirik. Okay, cool. So we know kind of the direction we're going to need to go. We know it's not far. Travel time. I mean, we're really talking if they're moving along. If they're moving along at a reasonable pace, we're talking maybe within a couple of hours on the road. If you're moving along, you can walk 5 kilometers in an hour without too much issue. If you're moving along, these guys are weighed down by armor and such, so maybe it's 3 or 4 hours that they're going to need to go. But they also don't know where exactly they're going, so that's the other thing, is they're going to maybe set out to go looking for Martha's family's home. We don't know anything other than that about her family. Berham would know a little bit, maybe just because that her family home is somewhere to the south of Port Sirik. Just because we kind of established there a couple sessions ago that they're friends, right? Or last session we'd established that they're friends. Or 2 sessions ago we established they're friends. It was right before she got killed, actually. So, however, we also want to I want to introduce a few other elements here, because we need some more threads. Quite honestly, this is not much of a threads list. And as you'll see kind of from my session notes here, I'm calling this session, or this episode, the Cult of the Fish God, or at least the first episode of the Cult of the Fish God. And like I said, I want to bring Kuo-toa, and I had ChatGPT help me generate some stats for Kuo-toa. So while they are, so I need to kind of get a sense as to what the next scene is really going to be about. And I'm thinking they're going to be learning about the Kuo-toa threat here. This is probably going to take place a lot in the Lone Rose Inn, and I'm thinking Anna might be their main contact here. But we need to test that scene first. I'm gonna roll a d10 against that with chaos factor of 5. It is 5. Sorry, was it rolling under? Was it rolling equal to or under for testing a thread? Or testing a scene? I need to double check that quickly. Chaos factor or less. So this is an altered scene. Let's... So since this is an altered scene, there are some options as to how to deal with altered scenes in that thing. I'm going to go and try to select one. Here's a scene adjustment, which is a handy table. So I'm going to roll on the scene adjustment table. That's a d10, which we're going to roll 3, which is a reduce, remove, and activity. So we don't really necessarily have a lot of activity, but I'm thinking that means they're not going to be getting on the road. In fact, the altered scene I don't think is going to be all that altered from what I was planning. So I'm thinking removing an activity or reducing an activity. So instead, maybe it's just a day later. Instead of several days later. Or, sorry, instead of a few days later. What I kind of had in mind here... Actually, let's just kind of dive in. So, here we go. So, the next night... The next night, Berham and Egil are sitting in the tap room, and you know, once again discussing. Egil and Berham probably don't see exactly eye to eye. Berham's focus is really on helping people and, you know, furthering the lawful cause. Right? He's a good, honest, you know, lawful person. Egil's a thief. Now, I'm sure Berham has kind of got a sense that, you know, Egil kind of, you know, lives in the shadows a little bit more and probably has a sense as to what type of skills he really has. But Egil hasn't really done anything yet to show that, really, like, in terms of, like, he's a neutral, aligned person. You know, he will steal from people. He will, you know, he's not suicidal, he's not crazy, you know, he's not going to steal from his allies, but if opportunities happen to, you know, kind of arise, he's not going to back down from, you know, a little honest thievery, we'll go with. They are discussing kind of what they're going to do, and they also need to find some additional adventurers. They feel just travel in numbers is safer. There are attacks of everything from bandits to wild animals and monsters on the roads, so they really want to ensure that they are traveling in larger numbers. So they are discussing the idea of bringing on additional adventurers. When suddenly there's an alarm that goes up, somebody's ringing a loud bell. Bing, 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 bing. And Anna, kind of she's cleaning up behind the bar a little bit when she hears the alarm sound, and her eyes shoot up, and she says, "They're back." Egil looks over, and Berham also looks over, and Berham's the first to speak up. "Who's back, my lady?" "The fish people. They attack the village every so often. They don't like that the village exists this close to their hive or their nest or whatever they live in." "What kind of fish people are we talking about?" "Dangerous ones. They must be attacking the docks." Egil and Berham immediately rise. They do not have weapons on them at the moment because they've just been enjoying time, in the tavern and speaking. So their weapons and armor and everything are up in their rooms. At this point, I would say, Martha's belongings have been packed up into her backpack, and they're waiting to move on. Right, they're waiting to be returned to her family. So the two of them quickly rush up, give a knowing eye to each other, and rush up to their respective rooms to get ready. Now, I believe it's 10 minutes to get into armor and get suited up. So they don't come back down until after the alarm has already ceased sounding. They have their weapons strapped to them. They've left backpacks and sacks and that kind of thing behind. They're only outfitted with their weapons and their armor. And they come running down the stairs, hurriedly, clump down the stairs, and out the front door, where torches are ablaze out near the docks. And they hurry toward, they're in the dockward as it is. So if we kind of deal with this, let's just go to our Port Zurich map. Get rid of this. So we know they're here. And I'm thinking that 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 sets kind of paired docks. I'm just going to kind of start from 1, 4 at the bottom. We're going to see which docks they're at. 4 to the south. Cool. So pinging down here. Call it a hive, but yeah. Sorry, just kind of thinking what I'm writing here. By the time they return to the tavern, the alarm has stopped. They rush outside. There are torches ablaze, and they can tell it's there's a commotion by the southernmost docks in the dockward. They head there. What do they find? Do they find that there are Kuo-toa, fish people attacking right now? I'm gonna call that likely, I think. Sorry, let me get back to my fate chart here. I think I'm going to call that likely. So, are the fish people attacking right now? 69 is no, they are not. When they get down to the docks, are there people already dead? Yeah, well, there's people who've definitely been injured. But there's definitely been a fight. Are any of the townsfolk... Yeah, let's do it. Are any of the townsfolk dead? I'm thinking 50-50. Again, we're on chaos factor of 5. Yes. That's barely, so I'm going to call it with 1. and one townsperson has been killed. They get down to the docks. No light lit of their own, and as they're kind of approaching some of the bystanders, some of the townsfolk who are looking about and searching the shores, waving torches and lanterns around, a couple of them at the nearest to the edge of the docks towards the mainland, are startled when Egil and Berham come rushing up, and at first they think, they turn with their eyes wide, thinking maybe they're about to be attacked by more of these fish people, when they see that it's two well-armed and armored individuals coming, and one of them's going, They went that way. Wait, you're not the town guard. No, my good man, we are not the town guard. I'm pretty much going to have my voices like this. I'm almost starting to, he's not quite as bad, but I'm almost starting to think of Berham as like the Zap Brannigan voice, just less, not as stupid and ridiculous. Whereas Egil has a little more closer to probably to my own voice at this point, just with possibly a little more evenness in his timbre kind of thing. So, no, my good man, we are not the town guard, but we are here to help. They went that way. Because it's at the southernmost dock, I'm thinking the Kuo-toa, the fish people, can possibly even probably went out into the water, but likely heading south along the shore. Well, southwest-ish, kind of the way the shore is on here. If we go back to our map, they probably have come down through towards this area, if they're not directly in the area. Although I think that would be a little too much. Back to Port Sirik. Egil and Berham, draw weapons. Berham draws his sword, whereas Berham draws his mace, whereas Egil draws his sword. Berham also kind of prepares his shield. Makes sure that that he's got a good grip on his shield, that it's fitted properly, and the two of them seek out towards the south. And Egil goes, "It might be a little quicker if we take my boat." "You have a boat? You don't look like a sailing man, sir." "I do. It's a rowboat, just perched up on the beach down here." And they go to find Egil's rowboat there, and he says, "Well, my good man, this may be a much easier way to go about tracking these things. I'll get it in the water. If you row, I'll light a torch." Very well, very well. And they enter the water. They, getting their boots kind of wet by stepping in to push basically they have to sheath their weapons. The shield kind of gets tossed into the rowboat, and they push off into the water. And once they're adrift, and Berham is getting the oars ready, he's like, "I haven't done this since I was much younger. Since I was a boy, I used to enjoy it. But today we have fish people to hunt down." And as he's starting to row and taking them down, kind of taking the boat out and positioning it so that it's going to be pointing in the southwestern direction there, Berham is busy, fishing. You know what? He didn't bring his backpack. He has no torch. He has nothing with him. He's like, "I have a problem." "What is the problem?" "Torches are back in my room." Berham looks around. "You there! You with the torch! Here, bring it here!" And the guy's like, people standing on the shore, some of them with torches and lanterns, and me, he's like, "Yes, you! Come! We need that to better see for where the fish people went." And he's like, Okay, and he kind of starts trudging out into the water. Berham does at least the the right thing and kind of brings the boat a little bit closer in. They haven't got too far from land anyway, and they're not going to go too far out. This is the ocean they're on anyway, right? So he rows the boat a little further closer to land, and the guy kind of comes out. He's like wading up almost up to his thighs when and he kind of reaches out and hands the Egil the torch. And he goes, "Thanks. We'll bring it right back." And the guy looks at him kind of skeptically. They're not going to be bringing that right back. It's a torch. It'll essentially torches. I think they were always kind of considered one use back in the day. You light them, you use them, they burn out eventually, and that's it. If you douse them, you've kind of ruined them until they dry out. They're whatever. So to me, they're kind of one use. That's the way I'm going with this. And they just managed to convince someone to give them a torch so that they can go find the fish people. I didn't roll for that because I just felt that would make sense. These guys are going off to try to find the fish people to deal with them. I do not see a reason why the person standing on shore would not be handing over their torch when requested. So, Berham kind of puts his back into it, starts rowing, getting a little further away from shore, and he's like, that away! And once he kind of centers the boat a little bit more, gets it ready, we're just going to kind of start moving the boat. I can do this. And he starts to row his way around the shore here. Keeping an eye out as Egil's kind of like leaning over, waving the torch, keeping the torch high, looking for any sign. They're not going too far away from the shore, really. In fact, that's probably not even... It's probably more like this. They're only maybe 20 meters out at most as they're rowing and trying to keep close because the fish people could be in the water, but they could also be along the shore. And if they're in the water, it's going to be really difficult to see them. Yeah, so they're going to... Looking for them. I think... I'm thinking... We need... What do we need here? Do they see them? Alright. Egil's going to also be listening. That's what we're going to do because he is a thief. He has very keen senses. He's going to listen. So we're going to... Okay. Hear noise. So what I'm going to do, the way I'm going to kind of deal with this in a lot of cases is we're going to check to see if there's something that he could... he's going to check to see if he can hear anything, and then I'm going to consult the oracle as to whether he actually hears anything or not, whether there's anything to be heard. So we're going to roll. We're going to get 53. So Egil hears nothing in the water or on the shore indicating fish people. He just gotta look at her, continues looking around, hearing nothing, and I'm thinking they spend much of the evening looking before finally having to call it an evening. No luck whatsoever, and they return to the docks probably like midnight. Cool. I think we're gonna call that a scene. I think we have to call that a scene. We know somebody's been killed, one of the townsfolk. We know that we now know that there are quote unquote fish people, Kuotoa, in the area that raid the dockward every so often. So I think we have a new thread that we need to be considerate about. So actually, we're just going to kind of go with find the Kuotoa for now. I think that's fair. Actually, let's go find the Kuotoa lair. So throughout this, they decide that I think throughout their search, Berham is now intent. These fish people have killed the townsfolk, and from what they were kind of understanding back in the Lone Rose Inn, this happens every so often, and they're violent, and they raid the town via the docks, right? So as a cleric, as a lawful cleric, he feels that he needs to put an end to this. Scene number 6. Chaos factor. We're going to come back to this here. So the chaos factor, they weren't really in control there, so I think that went up. That's what I'm going to go with. Our next scene is going to be recruiting adventurers. And this is where things might kind of get bogged down a little bit. The next morning, I believe, they meet for breakfast. So Egil and Berham were already talking about the need for further adventures, especially if they were going to set out, on the road. Old school Dungeons and Dragons especially was known for bandits on the road, highway robbers, wandering monsters. In fact, we are going to be dealing with wandering monsters whenever we're out on the road or in dungeons. These guys are getting no breaks whatsoever, none. The dice will fall as they may, and if we have party members die, we have party members die. So that's why we also need to stack the deck a little bit. Make sure that we got a party that, sorry, I'm just checking my recording, that we got a party that will hopefully survive and not TPK. However, in the case of a TPK, I will simply roll up new characters. Remember, all new characters come in at first level, regardless of what level the party is at. So if we get up to like level 10 and there's a death or they recruit a new member, we're bringing a first level character in. Don't worry, it works. It's not perfect, but you can do it. I ran those games for years. Usually what happens is, of course, when you have a low-level party member joining with a bunch of higher-level party members, is that low-level party member is going to ramp up levels a lot quicker and start catching up. It tends to kind of work. It just throws off the balance for a while. So, next morning at breakfast, they discuss recruiting adventurers to go in search of the fish people. Anna tells them about somebody. So this is where we're going to go back to character creation. I'm really hoping for a wizard because I think I kind of got some fun ideas. Add a character. We're just going to kind of come back to that, to be determined. And we're going to go right back into character generation. So I'm going to pull out my red book again. You'd think after all these years I could just create a D&D character without even thinking about it. But I gotta admit, going back, 35 years since I was really playing D&D Basic and such. The rules have changed, man. Like there's a lot of the core elements are still there, but things really did change. And I'm trying to unlearn some of the systems that that I've learned since through AD&D 2nd and 3rd edition, and then later on 5th edition. I never played 4th edition. So let's just start rolling up some dice. Let's roll some dice. Let's grab this. We'll put this here. We need 3d6 for strength. He's not going to be strong. He's got a whopping 8. Intelligence would be nice to be high here. Oops, wrong dice. 11 is not high. It's not what I was hoping for. Wisdom, 3d6. That's a 13. Dexterity. That's 12. Constitution. That is a 12. That's good. And finally, charisma. somebody who's very charismatic, very well liked. So what do we got here? We can kind of pretty much go with everything but a fighter, really. I don't know if we meet all the prerequisites for demi-humans. An elf, for instance, has a prerequisite of strength and intelligence. Now, they need a minimum intelligence, but their strength, that's not worth doing. I believe the dwarves are similar in that a dwarf's primary is a strength score, so no, absolutely, it's not going to be that. Could it be a halfling? Nope, strength and dexterity. Okay, we're ruling out demi-humans right here. So that leaves us cleric as a wisdom-based character. A fighter is out. Magic user, if we start pulling from wisdom, which I'm not sure I want to do. We could have another thief, but I don't think we really need another thief. Now, when you're... What are we going to go with here? Our intelligence is not exactly high. But so, I'm thinking... We need to bump we kind of need a fighter as well. Actually, I don't really like any of these roles, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to assign this to that's a tough decision. All right, let's assign this to the wizard, the magic user that I had in mind. So we're gonna try to bring things up a little bit. So because we're assigning this to a wizard, we need to bring the intelligence up, preferably at least a 13 if we can. Gonna bring up our characters here again, so we deal with this. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna go magic user. Sorry, I forgot. Magic user in the game actually is a dash in there. The spelling matters, man. Which means our prime requisite is going to be intelligence. Yep. He's going to start with the 0 XP, and we'll deal with the rest of that here in a second. So, male or female? Let's do that. Is he a male? And now we're on chaos factor is 6, and we'll just call that a 50-50. 7, yes, male. I have an idea here, so I'm going to call him 18 years of age. We'll say 176 centimeters and about 65 kilos. He's slim. Brown eyes. Short blonde hair. Excuse me, short blonde hair, which also means he's human, so he's gonna know common. And his alignment, we're gonna go with lawful. He's generally gonna be a do-gooder type to an extent. And now we need to kind of deal with our exchange here. So I'm gonna drop wisdom by 2 and increase intelligence by 1. I'm actually gonna do that again. Forgot, is there a minimum I can drop something to? No score can be lowered below 9. So yeah, so I can't do that anywhere else. That's the best I can really get it. 13 or above. So 13 or above is a plus 5% adjustment. As a magic user, a magic user. Where's our magic user? So, as a magic user, he needs 2,500 to the next level. Okay. We're going to deal with this. So he's got 13, 14, 13. Nobody's good about saving against Dragon's Breath. And 15. Okay, cool. Class skills we're not going to be too worried about at the moment. Combat, whatever. Inventory, sorry, we need to roll 3d6 for his gold. He's got a whopping 50 gold. He's going to wear robes, of course. He's not going to be able to wear armor. We're going to give him a backpack. Let me open up the... Okay. So we need a backpack for him. That is going to be 20 encumbrance and 5 gold pieces. We are also, well, carried, because they can't really wear it so much. I'm going to give him a staff, which is two-handed. The encumbrance for a staff is 20 and costs 2 gold. So let me check something about magic users here. Magic users, weapons. A magic user can only use a dagger for a weapon. I'm going to give him the staff, consider it as a walking staff. I'm just going to make a note. Can't use in combat. However, also warn is we can give him a dagger. He's going to need a knife of some sort, just in case. I should just put as normal dagger. That's 10 encumbrance for 3 gold. Let's just show all here. In the backpack, we will add a water skin. 1 water skin. The encumbrance of 5, it's worth 1 gold piece. We probably need some other items here. Let's give him a tinder box. 5 encumbrance and 3 gold pieces. Again, also in the backpack. What else does he need here? Going to do something maybe... Actually, yeah. So, magic users, of course, need a spell book. Now, does he automatically start with a spell book? Starts with a spell book. Just wondering whether he had to buy it or not, but starts with a spell book. So we're going to put the spell book in here too, and I believe a spell book. I don't know if this matches, but it says it's 20 pounds, and I don't know whether that matches up to CN or not in terms of how much space it takes up. But I'm going to kind of go with that for now. Because I don't see anything here in the equipment list to give me a sense as to where it's going. So it's costing him 0 GP, but its value is much, much higher. So I'm just going to take that out of there. I'm not going to worry about the value here. So his spell book, he's going to have 2 spells in his spell book. So we're going to have level 1 spells. We want to take a look at what he's got. So, I'm thinking. So, first level in the red box, we have 12 spells to choose from, 2 of which can go in this book. Charm Person, Detect Magic, Floating Disc, Hold Portal, Light, Magic Missile, Protection from Evil, Read Languages, Read Magic, Shield, Sleep, and Ventriloquism. And I'm thinking the first one that's going into the book is going to be Sleep. We're going to... Oh, cool. Okay, it's got all this information. We might as well just add all of the details in here. Sleep. Where's Sleep? Sleep. Casting time. I think most of the... I think everything in here is 1 round. Prepared. Not at the moment. Target area of effect. 200. Oops, sorry, that's range. 240 feet. Duration is 4d4 turns. The target area of effect is 2 to 16 HD within 40-foot square area. Okay. Okay, that's macro. I don't know what all this stuff is doing here. There is a saving throw for it, I think. No, there is no saving throw. That's it. You cast it, and it affects 2d6 hit dice worth of creatures. I think that's handy. The other one we're going to go with, I think every first level wizard needs a needs a magic missile spell. Target or area of effect. It's a target. Range is 150 feet. Duration is 1 round. It's basically an immediate thing. So it is a... It automatically hits. It does damage. So the damage it does is 1d6 plus 1. No saving, yeah, that's what I thought. No saving throws, just the damage, and as it goes up a level, for every 5 levels of experience, 2 more missiles are created by the same spell. So that's cool. And I'm thinking, can we don't have other level 1. We're going to have Sleep prepared. So I guess the idea is as I use them, I'll just say no, they're no longer prepared. Because if you're watching this, you probably know how D&D magic works, and it's a fire and forget kind of thing. He has a single spell slot of first level, and he has memorized Sleep at the moment. Okay. Character name. I need a character name. Let's go to... Can we make up a name? Let's just make up a name. A buddy of mine always liked to... when we were kids, always liked to use the character name Rowan. And I remember this because I think it came from some fantasy novel that he read and fell in love with, that he just loved. Now here's the thing. Here's what I've determined about Rowan. In fact, we're going to be kind of ending this in a few minutes, I think, because this is fine. I need to do some work prepping Rowan. But here we go. So Anna joins the conversation. They, of course, turn and ask, and Anna, Egil, asks her while they're enjoying their morning breakfast. Again, complimentary, right? Because they saved her life, couple days ago. Like, Anna, have you heard of any other adventurers that may be seeking some work? We are going to go in search of the fish people, and we could really use some extra help. And Anna thinks about it for a moment. She says, well, I do hear that the wizard that lives to the north of us rumor has it he has an apprentice that's ready to go out in the world. I would suggest maybe you speak with Ernesto of Clan Gygax. Why not? And maybe go from there. And that's how we're going to kind of do this. So, as he has an apprentice. The wizard's name is Ernesto of Clan Gygax. Just cause it's silly. I know. And, because that's what I wanted to name him. I don't know. So that later that day, they are going to go in search of Ernesto of Clan Gygax. Actually, well, not even necessarily later that day. Starting after breakfast. And from there, that's actually where I'm going to call things as I kind of just prep a little bit more. I'm not going to worry so much about Ernesto's stats, maybe, but when you read through the book, a low-level magic user up to the point where they hit level 7 needs somebody who's helping them, needs somebody who's instructing them and giving them new, working with them to give them new spells to be able to cast. So that's where I'm kind of going with this. Rowan, who we'll meet probably next session here, is a magic user as an apprentice to Ernesto of Clan Gygax, possibly in a wizard's tower or something north of town. We'll leave that partly to the fates, but we'll figure that out next time. Cool. All right, take it easy.